Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm still staring at the camera. Video is down on YouTube today. Audio is there. Engineers are working on it. We do have a great engineering team, and we're working on upgrading the system. So stay patient with us on the Super Talk TV side. In the meantime, you can listen to us anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. Mason told me right before we got on, to make a bad situation worse, that instead of the normal hold screen on the YouTube, he's using an embarrassing photo of me.
Yeah, just a little bit, and it'll pop up if you're watching the stream here in the next little bit. So just keep an eye out. But it's a big technical difficulty sign.
Thanks, Mason.
You're welcome.
Like right before we got on air, he said, by the way, we're not using the hold screen. I said, what?
That's boring.
He said, we're using an embarrassing photo of you.
We stand above the other streams today.
Okay. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
We're set apart. Okay.
We're playing our parts.
Hey, we got some big news. We're going to have that RFK interview on the show today at 9:35. We're really excited about it. Can I be perfectly honest? Can I level with you guys? So we were going to be doing it in studio, and we were all jazzed. And this is like, don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? And then the White House had an event come down. RFK had to leave Nashville sooner than expected. But they were really awesome, and they were like, we'll get you a phone interview. And I was like, cool, perfect. Wish we had just started on the phone interview, because I would have been much more excited. It felt like a downgrade, like, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I was actually really excited to talk to RFK Jr. And I was excited to just say thank you for the work that he's doing for the kids in this country. A lot of what he's doing, the seeds that he's planting, he's never going to see the fruit. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a man of a certain age. And the work that he's putting in, he's not going to see the benefits. But our kids will, and our grandkids will. And for that, we thank him. Like, what a hero. The amount of sacrifice that RFK Jr. has put on the line is unbelievable. He's lost friends, he's lost family, and he just kept trucking along because it's what the right thing to do was. So we're excited to air that interview for you guys today. We'll air that at 9:35. It was a good interview. We asked about autism. We talked about the new food pyramid. We talked about the Great American Recovery Program that they're launching, and I even got to ask Secretary Kennedy about geoengineering. I know it's a bit of a tinfoil hat topic, but RFK Jr. Didn't seem to think that it was tinfoil at all, and he said that they're going to be. I don't want to spoil the interview, but he said they're actually bringing somebody into HHS. They're onboarding them right now, just to look at the geoengineering. So that I thought it was fascinating. We'll talk about that a little while. We'll air that interview at 9:35. In the meantime, another big story in America is the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is just what needs to happen if we want to secure our elections for the future. The Democrats will tell you that it is the most racist thing that could ever happen, that it is Jim Crow 2.0. And they have said this again and again and again. Just yesterday, Chuck Schumer was on MS Now, and he was asked about Jim Crow 2.0, the Save America Act. And even on MS Now, the host was like, Mr. Schumer, 71% of Democrats support this. This is a 70-30 issue for Democrats. It's Jim Crow 2.0.
So, Leader Schumer, this talk about election security has revived discussions of the SAVE Act, which you have said you oppose. Proponents of it say that it's, to have ID, you have to prove U.S. citizenship to be able to vote. Though some of the claims they make, to be clear, are overstated. We know there's not widespread election fraud. But polling does suggest, there's a new Pew Research poll, that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
Well, clearly because 71% of Democrats are just vile, racists, and bigots. Obviously, right? Obviously.
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the internet. That's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting.
Who was it that did that to people in the South? Was it Republicans? Or was it Democrats?
For instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, You won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against.
But okay, but 71% of Democrats support this, and we know that the women that don't change their last name are Democrats. So that's why they support it. Maybe. And so it's not just racist; it's sexist.
If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country.
So again, number one, Jim Crow laws were enacted by Democrats. Number two, 71% of Democrats support voter ID. And number three, 85% of Americans overall support voter ID. So I would ask you the question, are 71% of Democrats racist? Are 95% of Republicans racist? Are 85% of Americans in this country racist and vile? Apparently so. I guess they are. Hey, you know what? You know what's hilarious? Video's been surfacing around, resurfaced, and you know who it is? It's Barack Obama. And you know what Barack Obama's doing? He's voting. This is from 2012. And do you know what they ask him for?
He needs an ID.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. I got my driver's license. Here you go.
Wait. He didn't accuse her of being a vile racist. He didn't call her a bigot. Was everybody laughing at how racist she was, or were they laughing? What? What?
He needs an ID.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. I got my driver's license. Here you go.
Huh. That's weird. That's strange. I thought it was Jim Crow 2.0. Oh. 2.0.1. Jamie Raskin is also out there once again claiming that voter ID is racist. It didn't seem racist when Barack Obama had to present his ID in 2012, but, times change. Things have gotten way more racist in this country.
Congressman, of course, the president's allies say that this is all about the SAVE Act, which would require voter ID, although a fairly stringent form of it. Voter ID is supported by the majority of Americans, but there are Democrats on the Hill. You voted against this. Why not support voter ID?
Well, look, first of all, this is not a problem that people are identifying or recognizing in the states. The states and local governments are perfectly capable of identifying when there are problems. This is obviously being cooked up by Donald Trump to justify his persistent and utterly bogus claim that he won the 2020 election when Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes. But what's wrong with the SAVE Act? What's wrong with it is that it might violate the 19th Amendment, which gives women the right to vote, because you've got to show that all of your different IDs match. So if you're a woman who's gotten married and you've changed your name to your husband's name, but so now your current name is different from your name at birth, now you've got to go ahead and document that. You need an affidavit explaining why. And why would we go to all of these the troubles in order to keep people from voting when none of the states that are actually running the elections are telling us that there's any problem?
Is it hard if you change your last name? Let me be honest. I don't think that would be the case. I happen to have a wife. She changed her last name. There was no issue voting that year. But let me ask you, ladies, if there's anybody out there who has ever had an issue voting in the state of Tennessee, because you do need your ID because you got married, please let me know. And let me know how it was rectified. 615-737-9986. I have a feeling that the phone lines are going to stay empty, because I feel like this is a made-up issue. This is a made-up problem. The Democrats just don't want voter ID because the Democrats want illegal aliens to continue voting in our elections. They want to continue being able to have the fraud. We had Josh Tifo in here yesterday, and he's the senior director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. He said that when they were doing their internal research on the 2024 election, Charlie Kirk, Tyler Boyer, and Josh, they said that when the term "too big to rig" came up, they had to figure out what that meant. And they said in the swing states, they were looking at, anywhere from 2 to 5% of fraudulent votes that they'd have to overcome. 2 to 5%. That's insane. And I think the Democrats know deep down that that's exactly what they need to protect. Especially when you see some of these elections being decided by slim margins. So you have states where Republicans would have run away with it, but then the Democrats just barely squeak it out. Just barely. The Democrats know that this is a thorn in their side, and if they want to keep power, if they want to regain power, they can't have voter ID. The president, on the other hand, wants it. Caroline Levitt yesterday in the White House press briefing room.
The president is calling on Republicans, again, and Democrats to pass the SAVE Act. I will reiterate, requirement for voter ID to vote. That should be something that no American should oppose. In fact, we know that the vast majority of Americans support it. Requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, which is not hard to do. We should be able to do that in this country.
Yep.
If you want to register to vote in the United States of America, you have to be a citizen in the United States of America. And this piece of federal legislation will direct states to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. I just had a conversation with the president about it.
President's all in. Is John Thune? I mean, this is what we need to do. We need to wake up John Thune. Because John Thune could get this done if he had the spine. It doesn't seem like he has that spine. A lot of people are having conversations online about John Thune being as weak as we thought he was going to be. He said he doesn't have enough time. Doesn't have enough time to do it. And I go back to what I said the other day. What have you done with the time you've already had? Democrat Senator Alex Padilla, you may remember him. He was the senator that got tackled for trying to storm Kristi Noem at a press conference. He also says that common sense voter ID is a bad idea, but he says it's because it would help the Republicans rig elections.
The real agenda here is to exploit immigrants in their desire to rig the election this November and hold on to power. That's what it's about for Republicans. We've got to stand up for it.
How would making sure that you're a citizen and that you are who you say you are rig an election for the Republicans?
So it's up to it.
It sounds like you're not willing to negotiate on voter ID. Senator, I do want to ask you one. Go ahead.
Voter ID is a solution in search of a problem, because the truth is voter fraud in America is exceedingly rare, study after study.
I mean, if it is as exceedingly rare as all these Democrats say, what's the issue? What's the issue? Other than the bigotry of low expectations for black voters who 76% support voter ID, and women voters who let's be honest, I don't see that being an issue. What's the problem? There shouldn't be a problem. But they're fighting it. They're fighting it. Chip Roy is leading the charge in the House, and he is calling on Leader Thune to change the filibuster and force that talking filibuster, that standing filibuster, so that way they can force a vote on the Senate floor.
Hey, everybody, it's Chip Roy from Texas 21, and I'm standing outside the House chamber where next week we are going to move, thanks to the leadership of the Speaker and Leader Scalise, we're going to move H.R. 7296, the Save America Act, legislation that I filed over here in the House and that my friend Mike Lee filed in the Senate. This is common sense legislation. It will require citizenship to register to vote, and it will require voter ID at the polls. This is an issue that polls at something like 80%, regardless of your race, regardless of your background. This is common sense stuff that we think we should move. The SAVE Act, by the way, has passed on a bipartisan basis twice off of the House floor. The problem is Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have been blocking it. So now we're calling on Leader Thune to change this and to force what we call a talking filibuster so that we can force a vote on the Senate floor. We think we can. I'm over in the Capitol Dome room. Across the other side of the dome is the Senate. When we pass this in the House, let's make the Senate do their job and pass the Save America Act.
We do need to make the Senate do their job. We need to make John Thune do his job. You can find his phone number online, and I suggest that you give him a call and you let your opinion be heard. We'll talk a little bit more about the SAVE Act. Don't forget, we got that RFK interview on the way at 9:35, and also our Stake of the Union's coming up. 20 What's that? 18 days? 18 days from now.
Yeah.
The State of the Union. Donald Trump is going to have his State of the Union address, and we're going to be down at Legend Steakhouse in Smyrna. We want you to be out there and join us. Myself, Murphy, Mandis, Chad Benson. We're going to be hanging out. There's only 100 tickets available. This is a super exclusive event. I don't think we've ever done one with this limited number of tickets. Now, it's $100 to get in. You might say that seems like a lot, but you get a lot for it. Each ticket's going to include a 9-ounce Legend sirloin, 2 sides, the salad bar, strawberry cake, a non-alcoholic beverage of your choice, and tax and gratuity for $100. You can get your tickets now before they sell out. They're available at 997WTN.com. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Glock store. They are back up and running at full strength. See, they lost power, much like everybody else in Nashville lost power thanks to the NES holes. So they have been working by muzzle flash for a couple days. Not candlelight, muzzle flash. But they're back. Lights are on, and the retail showroom and the Shoot 270 indoor ranges are open for business and ready to offer some great, incredible deals during their Great Ice Storm of 2026 sale. The deals include the new Glock GTL2 weapon lights for less than $155, 43X magazines for under $19, the Savior Specialist range bags, and the limited edition Desert Night and Tiger Stripe camo. They're in stock and on sale, and there's much, much more. Plus, the brand new M1X Coyote frames are also now in stock and ready for immediate pickup. And don't forget, you can still pre-order that Gen 6 Glock. And when you mention my name, Chris Hand, and you pick up that brand new Gen 6 Glock, you're going to get a free extra magazine just for mentioning the Chris Hand Show. That's because of my friends at the Glock store, all powered up, ready for business, limited time offers. Get down there today. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, always open online, glockstore.com.
Up ahead, we have breaking news. A suspect in the 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi has just been arrested. We've got details coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the news nook. Are you at like a breakfast table right now? Where are you?
I have a little studio of my own.
You got a little news nook.
Yeah.
Jones down there in Manchester, right? Is that where you're broadcasting from?
Yep.
How'd you get that sweet deal today?
Oh, you know, I begged, I pleaded.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Joan Jones is still killing it. She crushes it no matter where she is. We got the headlines on the way for you in 2 minutes. Senator Ted Cruz also coming out in support of the SAVE Act. This is a big domino to fall, and I'm a fan.
Are you that we can get the SAVE Act to the floor for a vote? Do you think it's actually going to happen, or is this an empty promise?
Look, I very much hope so. I can tell you I am urging my colleagues to end the zombie filibuster and to force the Democrats to do an old-fashioned talking filibuster. And we have procedural tools that can make it far more painful for the Democrats to continue defending and facilitating voter fraud. And that's the case I'm trying to make to my colleagues.
Well, we appreciate that. Why do you think it's so hard to end this zombie filibuster? And it seems like Thune isn't really in favor of it from what he said yesterday.
I mean, she answered her own question. Why do you think it's so hard to end this zombie filibuster? Seems like Thune isn't really into it. Yeah, there's your answer.
Look, I will say that the conference is discussing it actively. And look, I hope we come to agreement. We need to get 51 Republicans to stand together. The only way to force the Democrats to do the talking filibuster is stand united.
Lord knows that is a difficult thing for Republicans to do. Don't forget, after the news with Joan Jones, we're going to be stopping down. I got an interview to play for you guys from RFK Jr. We had a chance to catch up yesterday, and it was a pretty cool conversation. I was very grateful for the opportunity to speak with our Secretary of HHS, Bobby Kennedy. I'll play that for you after the news with Joan Jones. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In 14 years after the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, the U.S. has just arrested one of the suspects who played a role. Zubair al-Bukash was arrested overseas. He's been extradited to the U.S. now. And the video of him being led by U.S. troops off an airplane just surfacing this morning. U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro.
Time will not stop us from going after these predators, no matter how long it takes, in order to fulfill our obligation to those families who suffered horrific pain at the hands of these violent terrorists.
If you remember, 4 people were killed in that attack, which then United Nations Ambassador Susan Rice called a spontaneous reaction to the protest over an anti-Islam film. It was later identified to be a deliberate attack carried out by al-Qaeda. NES reporting about 620 customers right now without power, making significant improvement overnight. Meantime, there is a petition circulating Nashville demanding that NES help cover the costs of losing power for the thousands of families now trying to recover. That petition seeks automatic bill credits for anyone who lost power for more than 48 hours. The Guthrie family issuing another video message directed toward potential kidnappers of their mother, urging them to reach out and prove they have Nancy Guthrie, as the 84-year-old's whereabouts remain unknown. It's been 6 days since she was taken from her home in Arizona.
We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
That is Savannah Guthrie's brother, Cameron. No suspect or person of interest so far, and the FBI is offering a $50,000 reward. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
There's nothing like it.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. You know, we had that storm a couple weeks ago now. Some people are still feeling it. Tennessee families are feeling it. And a lot of these families are dealing with damage that doesn't always show up right away. We're talking about flooding, waterlogged soil, freeze and thaw cycles that can quietly compromise a home foundation. This is where United Structural comes in. These guys have been doing this work for more than 30 years. USS has helped homeowners across Tennessee repair foundation damage caused by storms and severe weather. They don't offer quick fixes. They deliver long-term solutions because your home is too important to gamble with. What really sets USS apart is their commitment to the community. They support local schools, neighborhoods, and organizations like Habitat for Humanity. In March, USS is going to be participating in their 10th Habitat build here in Tennessee, Ashland City to be exact. USS volunteers are going to be framing and installing roof trusses, helping a family rebuild on solid ground. That's service. That's integrity. If your home foundation has issues after severe weather, choose a company that stands with Tennessee families. Choose USS. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. USSTN.com. WTN. It's 937 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Bobby Kennedy was in Nashville a couple days ago celebrating the Great American Recovery Plan, battling addiction in a completely new way. We were going to meet up and sit down and have an interview together, and then things got moved around. His schedule got compromised, and he had to get back to D.C. Stunk. I'll be honest with you. I was bummed. I was bumming. But it was really cool, man. The guys over at HHS were unbelievable. They're like, we're going to make this interview happen. So yesterday, after we got off air, we got to sit down. It was Mason and myself, and we invaded one of the production studios. Shout out to Dave Meyer. You hear him on all the commercials. You don't know him, but you've heard him.
You've heard him so many times.
So many times.
We love him.
Dave let us roll into his studio to do this interview, and we're grateful to Dave. We're grateful to HHS. This is our conversation with HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy. Secretary Kennedy, thank you for taking some time to join the show. I really appreciate it, sir.
Hey, Chris, thank you for having me.
Man, I'm really excited. I'm excited to have you as part of the administration. I'm excited for all the things that you're doing for America and the trees that you're planting for shade that you're not going to sit underneath for the kids of this country has just been unbelievable. So I just want to start by saying thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I mean, we're having the worst existential crisis in history with the chronic disease epidemic. We have the sickest children of any country in the world. 77% of our kids cannot qualify for military service. When I was a kid, Chris, my uncle was president. We spent zero on chronic disease in this country, and now we spend $4.3 trillion a year. And it's 40 cents out of every taxpayer dollar that's sent to the federal government. And it's bankrupting us. We can't keep getting sick. We spend 2 to 3 times what the Europeans do or per capita for health care. And yet we have the worst health outcomes. We have the sickest kids. We have the sickest adults. We have record obesity. We've lost 6 years to the Europeans in terms of longevity. We have the highest maternal mortality rates, the highest infant mortality rates in the developed world. And most of it is linked to diet. It's just we're eating poison. It's not food. 70% of the food that our kids eat is ultra-processed, highly refined carbohydrates. And it's not food, it is poison. And, you know, we're now reaping the whirlwind from 30 years of bad policy and government lying and corporate takeover of government by these big, by the food industry. And it's hurting farmers, it's hurting American people, and it's put the control of our food supply. These highly engineered foods put the control of the food supply in the hands of these corporations and take it away from the farmer, take it away from the rancher, take it away from local food producers. And if we're going to fix this country, we need to fix the food system.
And you've been hard at work at this. I mean, I saw the new dietary guidelines, which it said something refreshingly simple. It was just eat real food. Why did it take...
I mean, how you summarize it in 3 words.
Right?
Why did it... dietary guidelines that the Biden administration gave to us, I was supposed to publish them the first week I was in office. They were 453 pages long, and they were driven by the same mercantile impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. It was just lobbyists writing, profits for themselves and poisoning us. And Brooke Rollins and I, the USDA administrator extraordinary, the best USDA administrator we've had in history, said, we are going to give you guidelines that are less than 10 pages that a 10th grader can read, everybody can understand, and that are, going to help you do your shopping so that you're giving your kids the micronutrients they need to build their immune systems, to build metabolic energy, to build muscle mass, to develop their brains. We literally starved 2 generations of kids by not giving them whole milk.
Yeah.
Which is the most nutrient-dense food with all the vitamin B and iron and zinc and meat. And we now have we have an epidemic of obesity in this country. For the first time in history, obesity is accompanied by malnutrition. They're eating stuff, but it isn't food and it isn't nutrients.
Right. And you've been championing this for a long time, and I've followed you for a while, full disclosure. And one of the things I did to try and wake people up is I signed every one of my family members up for your children's health defense emails about 10 years ago. So thank you for those. The red pilling has been fantastic. And now in your new position with HHS, you're also making headways into the addiction world. And this is personal for me. I've lost a lot of good friends to addiction. You're now co-chairing the Great American Recovery Initiative. You were in Tennessee championing this. But I got to ask, what makes this different from past federal addiction efforts that spent billions with little to show for it?
Well, all the past efforts were to fund an infrastructure that was in silos. So nobody was really responsible for the addict, and everybody in the line got paid extra. Their financial incentives or to keep the addict relapsing.
Yep.
So if you give money to a rehab and then, the addict relapses 2 months later, he goes back to the rehab and they make double the money. And the way that, we're going to now work to change this system is you pay them a lump sum and then they're responsible for that addict for the next 2 years. And every time he relapses, he goes back. So they're going to lose money on every relapse. And we need to do this across the health system, of course, but we need to do it particularly in addiction because it's filled with these perverse incentives. And the addict is imposing costs not just on our healthcare system, but imposing costs, societal costs, or law enforcement, or crime, or broken families, or lost employment, lost efficiencies, and none of those are reflected and internalized. So we're bringing together all the agencies, HUD, the VA, the Labor Department, HHS, all of the agencies, so that we're going to have one person who's responsible for that addict and is accountable for that addict. And right now, nobody's accountable. Everybody's just checking boxes. He goes from the street. The detox, they check a box. The rehab checks a box, and the sober housing checks a box. And nobody's seeing if the guy is still, shooting heroin or drinking himself unconscious every day. And so we need a system that unites all of these different agencies and make somebody accountable for actually helping that addict get sober.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to seeing the fruit from this. But, you talk about relapses. 96% of adults with substance abuse disorders, they don't believe that they need treatment. I mean, that definitely plays into the relapse. But where does the failure come in? Is the biggest failure medical? Is it cultural? Is it institutional? What's your view on that?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest failure, of course, is human nature. And addiction itself is a disease of denial. So the addict in you is telling you you don't have a problem. Your problem is your wife, it's your boss, it's your job, it's the police. And if they weren't, if all those people weren't bothering you, that you wouldn't have a problem.
Right.
And, so that's just the nature of addiction. But when we can't change that, we're never going to change the nature of addiction. What we can do is we can change the economic incentives so that people who are responsible for that addict, who are paid to help that addict get sober, that they're actually succeeding, that it's outcome-oriented care rather than fee-for-service care.
We're speaking with HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I appreciate the time, Mr. Secretary. I want to ask you about autism. We've seen the rates dramatically rise over the last few decades, but why has asking why become so controversial?
It's because the potential causes include pharmaceutical products and food products that are controlled by big corporations with tremendous power over the press, over the media, and that are imposing an orthodoxy that's almost religious in nature, so that there are taboo subjects that you're not allowed to talk about, and that you get censored, doctors get delicensed, scientists lose their jobs and their grants. And so there's all this reinforcement of you're not allowed to talk about this. And we need, what we're doing is removing the taboos so that everybody is allowed. And the autism rates have, in 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in the United States, and they wanted to learn the incidence of autism at that time. It was already starting to increase. People knew what it looked like, and the incident rate at that time was 0.8 per 10,000 people, so less than 1 in 10,000. Today, it's 1 in every 31 kids. California is 1 in every 19 kids, 1 in every 12.5 boys. And you're still not allowed to ask the question. And, people will lie and say, oh, well, just noticing it more, which is just insane. There's been study after study that shows the epidemic is real. And all you have to do is look at older populations. Why is the epidemic only occurring in young people? If it was really about noticing it more, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. And the incident rate in 70-year-old men is still 1 in 10,000. And our children, it's 1 in 31. So, but these are all part of the orthodoxies and part of the propaganda. And we are now ending those taboos and allowing scientists to actually research the causes and also the treatments.
So one of the big issues would have been the research being paid for by Big Pharma. Is independent research going to play a more prominent role in your HHS?
Yeah, we're doing the research now at NIH. So it's not going to be in the hands of pharma.
Originally, in the beginning of this presidential term, they had a deadline for the causes of autism. Do you have an updated timeline on when you're going to really have definitive proof on what is causing the autism rates to explode?
Well, there are dozens of studies now, and some of them are going to take a couple of years. Some of them will have quite soon. There's like I said, there's an orthodoxy. And in order to challenge that orthodoxy, you're going to need more than one study. You're going to need a whole body of evidence that is going to finally convince the scientific community that the epidemic is real and the causes are identifiable.
We're speaking with HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. I have a quick question for you. We have a state representative here in Tennessee, Monty Fritz. He has really been a champion for the cause to ban geoengineering in Tennessee. That doesn't control federal aviation, though. There's, rumors of heavy metals being sprayed into the air. We see it with our own eyes. What impact does that have on American health? And is your HHS asking questions about what is being sprayed? And can we expect some more transparency here?
Yeah, you can expect total transparency from us. And we're actually onboarding somebody right now whose sole job is going to be looking into this kind of geoengineering. And, some of it may be from geoengineering. There's other potential causes as well. But we are going to look at everything, and we're going to be transparent with the public.
Secretary Kennedy, thank you for the time, and thank you for all the work that you're putting in for the American people.
Thank you very, very much for having me.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. February is here, Valentine's Day around the corner, and Busy Bee is really hooking you up with something pretty cool. Right now, with my friends at Busy Bee, if you're a new customer and you join their yearly Beehive Club membership anytime this month before Valentine's Day, you're going to be automatically entered to win their Valentine's Sweetheart Deal giveaway. One winner is going to get a relaxing couples massage and spa package from Third Coast Salt. They were just named Wilson County's best, plus a $100 Visa gift card for a legit dinner date. That is not a bad deal. They're doing the live drawing on Friday, February 13th on Facebook Live, so keep an eye out for that. And while we're at it, Tennessee weather does what Tennessee weather does. When storms roll in, Busy Bee is ready with some serious savings to protect your home, like 40% off a whole home surge protector with repairs, $500 off whole home water repipes, and the one everybody knows, 93 are free, the mainline clog deal. If they can't clear it, you don't pay for it. So don't wait. Give Busy Bee a call today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
ahead, who fired on a Metro Nashville police officer? An incident that happened overnight. Also, an attempted murder charge in a scheme to kill Russell Vogt. Those stories at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It's 9:56. Thank you guys for listening to the interview with Bobby Kennedy. Thank you for all the kind words on the text line. Sally texted in, and Sally said, although he said, it has occurred to me, your premise that we need more likes and subscribes on the YouTube page to get big name interviews seems to be proven correct. It helps. It definitely helps. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. We're not where we're at, where we need to be on the likes, on the YouTube pages, the subscriptions, but it absolutely helps grease the wheels to get stuff like that done.
It helps so much because it shows better connections to people who guests we do have on. It shows that we are actually trying to branch out and reach more of Middle Tennessee and maybe further.
Yep.
And so it's big deal. Big deal.
Yeah, it really is. So if you haven't liked the YouTube page, if you haven't subscribed to it, please do so today. It's free to do, and it'll help us. It'll help all of us. Like, it's not even just a me thing. Like, it'll help Mandis. It'll help Murphy. It'll help Benson. We'll all be able to get bigger interviews the more subscribes that we have on that YouTube page. So we appreciate you doing so. Just full disclosure, the YouTube page, we've been having technical difficulties. I'm sure you guys are up to speed on that by now.
Yeah.
Mandis laid it out this morning. Murphy laid it out yesterday afternoon. Bear with us. We will have it up and running very, very soon. And we have a top-notch engineering team, and they are absolutely, like, full disclosure, they're busting their ass trying to figure this thing out. So I know. It's a pain.
Stay with us in the short term so we can help thrive in the long term.
Exactly. And if you guys are frustrated, imagine how we're feeling, right? But it's like, it's a tech thing. It's not a people thing, which is just... So we're crossing that bridge as we get to it. But we appreciate you guys listening, and thank you so much. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. 615-737-9986. We will podcast the Bobby Kennedy interview, and we will get that up on the YouTube page as well, in case you want to listen to it again or share it with your friends. We appreciate you doing so. There's a lot to talk about today. We talked about the SAVE Act. We had Bobby Kennedy on. Minnesota. Listen, a lot of times we're just piling on in Minnesota. But I think there's a time to share some good news out of Minnesota. It has nothing to do with the Somalis. It has nothing to do with Tim Walz. It has nothing to do with immigration enforcement, any of that. But I have some good news out of Minnesota. This may surprise you. Good news out of Minnesota. It feels like an oxymoron, doesn't it? It's like jumbo shrimp. It doesn't roll off the tongue. But I have good news out of Minnesota.
Minnesota announced yesterday it will pause some gender treatments for minors. They say during the pause, they will no longer prescribe hormones or puberty blockers to children. They say it's because of federal pressure, referring to an announcement from the Department of Health and Human Services in December that said they would start withholding federal funding and reimbursements to hospitals providing gender treatment to people under 18. Children's called the move threats. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy said the procedures are unproven and considered malpractice.
Based Kennedy striking again. Yeah, sorry, you can't chop off the bits on the kids. Not even in a blue state like Minnesota, don't you know? Not going to happen anymore. Times are changing. Good news out of Minnesota. Children's Hospital Minnesota will stop giving out puberty blockers and hormones to anyone under 18. This is all because of the Trump administration. Make no mistake. And it is going to save countless kids. Countless kids. They always say, oh, gee whiz, if we don't give them this care, they might commit suicide. And it's like, no. What you're doing to them is ruining their lives forever. Side note, speaking of that, the detransitioners don't get a lot of momentum in mainstream media. They don't get interviews on NBC. They don't get interviews on CBS or anything like that. In 2 weeks, Chloe Cole, probably the most notable detransitioner out there, is going to be in studio. She's going to be in town for NRB, and then she's going to be coming in studio for an interview. So we can talk about the lies that the medical system told her and her parents. It wasn't like they just duped Chloe; they duped her mom as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the detransition process and more. So be on the lookout for that. That's a great interview that's coming in about 2 weeks. So a lot to get to. We'll take some of your phone calls on the way. I see a couple people on the line. Hang out with us. It's 10:01 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The man who died after catching on fire while sitting in a wheelchair in the early morning hours yesterday, now identified. He's 62-year-old Jimmy Ray Dunn. Metro Police say Dunn died at the corner of 20th Avenue North near Church Street around 2 in the morning yesterday. They say security video from nearby businesses showed that he was alone at the time. They think he may have set himself on fire while trying to light a cigar. The search is underway for whoever fired on an undercover detective's car in South Nashville early this morning. Channel 4's Holly Thompson.
The detective was doing surveillance right there near Harding Pike and Nolensville Pike when a car pulled up beside her and fired 3 shots into the side of her car. Thankfully, that detective was not hurt.
Yeah, it happened just before 1 o'clock in the morning, just outside a Walmart. Luigi Mangione is back in court this morning in his state murder case as the judge is weighing the timeline of his probable trial.
Well, the judge last week scheduled Mangione's federal trial to begin in the fall. Prosecutors with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office argued the state case should go first and have asked for a July 1st trial date. Mangione's lawyers have pushed back on the request for a summer trial, calling it unrealistic and arguing their team needs more time to prepare. A judge will hear arguments this morning to potentially decide whether the state or the federal case will go first. Peter Haralambous, ABC News, New York.
And some questions about the influence that Mangione may have on other people. Police have now filed charges against a Virginia man for attempting to kill a member of the Trump team. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio.
A man from Maryland faces attempted murder charges after police say he showed up at Russell Vote's home. Vote is the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and officials say that 26-year-old Colin DeMarco was seen on the doorbell camera at Vote's home in Virginia wearing gloves, sunglasses, and a mask. A neighbor said he appeared to have a gun under his shirt.
And officials claim that in court documents that DeMarco spoke of his admiration for Luigi Mangione. Finally, the University of Minnesota facing a penalty of $14,000 after it was discovered that a wind turbine on the university's property was responsible for the gruesome death of an American bald eagle. Photos obtained by Fox News Digital show the moment that eagle flew into the turbine, dismembering it into 3 pieces. The violation notice says that the university violated the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Do you know what Keith just texted in?
What did he text in?
He said, is NES in charge of your YouTube channel?
Ooh.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, that's a nasty one.
That's a nasty one. That's nasty.
That's a nasty one. That's nasty.
Hilarious at the exact same time. We're working on getting YouTube back up and running at 100%. In the meantime, iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. They're all there for you, and we appreciate it. The YouTube channel, there is audio. It's breaking up badly. I do understand that. It's a pain in the butt. We're going to post the full RFK video on YouTube momentarily, and that it won't be breaking up when we upload it.
No, it won't.
It's the live aspect that's giving us the hiccups.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys tuning in, however you're tuning in, and we thank you for putting up with the issues as they persist, and we'll get it fixed as quickly as humanly possible. In the meantime, I brought you. Remember I brought good news from Minnesota. Okay, it's like a flash in the pan in Minnesota, though. It's not. It doesn't last. It doesn't last. Let's talk about Minnesota, shall we? I saw a piece of audio from Nick Shirley, and man, the absolute spine on this kid, the balls of steel to do what he's doing in face of just untold danger. He was talking about what he was dealing with while he was in Minnesota, and he said that, I'll let you listen to what he said about what he dealt with in Minnesota.
Now I am getting a little bit more fearful for what's happening in my life and what's happening with the life of my family, as you've seen not only attacks from like the mainstream media, but more so attacks from just people on the internet saying outlandish things about you and your life.
Our second day at the hotel, they said that we needed to move hotels because our word was out as to where we were staying. And we were told by the security that Nick was the #1 man, like they had a hit on you, is what they said. So it was very frightening. It was very frightening.
Lots of death threats. I mean, people have sent me photos of people in ditches saying this is going to be you, and people have openly said that if you see Nick Shirley, tell him to kill himself.
It's insane. And what crime did Nick Shirley commit? He didn't burn down a Wendy's. He didn't attack a police precinct. He didn't trash a neighborhood. He didn't destroy any businesses. What did he do? He exposed the fraud that's happening in Minnesota. He exposed where your tax dollars are going. Spoiler alert, not where they're supposed to be going. They're actually going to Somalia. And for that, he's getting death threats. He is getting pictures of dead bodies in ditches sent to him saying, this is going to be you. His poor mother, that's the woman that you heard there, saying, we're at the hotel and it's day 2, and they're like, we need to move hotels because the OPSEC here has been blown. We've been identified. They know where we are, and they want to kill Nick Shirley. Absolutely insane. This is what you're up against. This is the militant arm of the Democrat Party. Make no mistake about it. These left-wing agitators and protesters, they're vile. And I understand what the president is doing. The way he's massaging the messaging lately, he said on NBC, we gotta have a softer touch. And I see Tom Homan drawing down 700 officers, and I see the conversation online like this is taco, this is Trump always chickens out, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because at the exact same time when you draw down 700 officers, you still have 2,400, Tom Homan said, in Minnesota, which is larger than any other footprint they have anywhere else, right? But just because we can realize that objectively doesn't mean that the drawdown doesn't energize and give oxygen to the radical left. They are 100% energized. They feel like they're winning. This is a bad scenario, because they feel empowered that if these ICE agents, these CBP officers are staring down a mob, the mob is going to win. We're seeing more enforcement operations in Minnesota. A self-identified Antifa member got arrested. His name was Antifa Kyle. Antifa Kyle has officially been arrested. Listen to this.
I'm Kyle. I'm Antifa, and everybody in my DMs and calling me and blowing me up, I love all of you.
I understand that the women who see this are really scared that their husbands are going to go and not come back. And that's real. And I am very sorry, ladies, that is what is happening. But I don't understand how you're struggling to follow that they're going to keep killing us if we don't end this. And we can't end this without good men in the streets, armed and ready to protect innocent people from being gunned down by these masked murderers, these fascist occupiers. I need boots on the ground, and I need them prepared to do what needs to be done so that this does not cost more innocent lives. We do not have any more time to let this drag out. I know it sucks. But this is the Iron Front. It's an individual choice. There are no generals in this fight. Stand on your own two.
And he starts swearing. That's Antifa Kyle. Antifa Kyle is calling for violence in the streets of Minneapolis. Well, he's been arrested. But this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing. And when you give oxygen to these leftists, to these agitators, to these paid protesters, to these Antifa members, they feel emboldened. And they post videos like this, and they actively call for violence against ICE agents and CBP officials. It's insane. We can't let this stuff slide. You can't let the angry mob win. And to the Trump administration's credit, he's been arrested. This Minnesota man who self-identifies as an Antifa member, he actually, when he got arrested, he was wearing a shirt that says, "I'm Antifa." Nailed it. He was arrested Thursday after making those violent threats against U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, said the Department of Justice. Kyle Wagner, 37, of Minneapolis, is accused in a criminal complaint of using social media in January to encourage assaults on federal law enforcement officers and threaten ICE agents. The DOJ said Wagner had urged followers to confront and attack ICE officers, referred to the agents as murderers, Gestapo, and at times called for armed violence against them. He said, this is in a different video, he said, anywhere where we have an opportunity to get our hands on them, we need to put our hands on them. Is that so? He wanted to say, we want to know who they are. We will identify every single one of them, and we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. It has to be done at the barrel of a gun. And then let us have a little effing fun. Huh. This is what we're up against. These kind of left-wing militants. These are the same kind of lunatics that are threatening the life of Nick Shirley because Nick Shirley exposed the fraud. And I don't know if Antifa Kyle understands, like, the tax dollars that are being stolen. I don't know. He probably doesn't have a job. But if he had a job, it's his tax dollars, too. You know what I mean? Like, that's the craziest part about it. Prosecutors also allege that Wagner, who was arrested on federal threat and cyberstalking charges, used his Instagram account to post personal identifying information about a pro-ICE individual online and later admitted the address belonged to the victim's parents. So not only that, he's doxing people with the wrong addresses. So if your poor mom and dad in their 60s and 70s, all of a sudden there's an Antifa mob outside their door. Like, oh, this is fine. This is fine. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche commented saying it's no surprise that an Antifa terrorist is allegedly threatening to kill and assault federal law enforcement as they dutifully remove criminal threats from the neighborhoods. After all this is what Antifa is about, lawlessness and violence. But under leadership of President Trump and Attorney General Bondi, there is no safe haven for terrorists, no protection from the full weight of justice. Wagner was expected to make his initial appearance in court yesterday. U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon Jr. said, "We know that a worthless man plots evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. And Wagner's alleged actions were an attempt to spread fire into our peaceful community, and that is not going to happen." I think that you could probably arrest a lot more than just Wagner. Let's be perfectly honest. He's a domestic terrorist. He needs to be held accountable, as do the rest of these Antifa members. You know, one of the first times that we saw Nick Shirley was when they were at the Antifa roundtable at the White House. And Nick Shirley was talking about the networks, talking about what is going on in these Antifa circles. Maybe that's why these people are so mad. They know that time is running out on Antifa. Investigations are happening behind the scenes. Caroline Levitt talked about Antifa Kyle yesterday at the White House press briefing.
We want that level of cooperation from state and local officials. And if people are illegally obstructing our federal law enforcement operations, if they are targeting, doxing, harassing, and vilifying ICE agents, they are going to be held accountable, like this individual here, who again is a self-proclaimed member of Antifa. He is a domestic terrorist, and he will be held accountable in the United States.
I love it. I love it. And I wonder what the Democrats will say. Oh, guys, Antifa's just an idea. It's not even a real thing. Don't even worry about it. The Brick Fairy doesn't pay any visits to Antifa. Don't worry. Don't worry. He's a self-described Antifa member. He's a member of the idea. He's a member of the idea. But we need to keep pushing. We can't give these lunatics any oxygen. And I pray that we see more arrests like this. Tom Homan, again, reiterated on Laura Ingram's show the other night. Yes, there's a bit of a drawdown, but nothing has changed in Minnesota. You know, with 700 agents leaving, that seems like a lot, but they still got a lot on the ground.
I know. I said today mass deportations will continue. And I said, no, if illegal aliens are not off the table, look, the normal footprint here is less than 150 agents. We got 2,400 boots on the ground here. And we're going to continue to enforce the immigration law. I'm out there tonight. You know, we're forcing the immigration law. What we said from day one, January 20th, from day one, President Trump and I and other people in the administration said, we're going to prioritize the public safety threats because that makes the most sense because they pose the most danger. But we're not, we've arrested a lot of illegal aliens. Look at the numbers, over 700,000 deportations, which is a record for this agency. And 70% of those being criminals. I think that's a better stat than saying we arrested 700,000, deported them, and 70% were non-criminals. No, makes perfect sense for the safety and security of this country because President Trump promised to make this country safe again. Mass deportations are here. They're coming. We're already breaking records, and we're not going to stop. If you're in the country illegally, we're looking for you. We're going to arrest you, and we're going to deport you. Nothing's changed.
That's Tom Homan just a couple nights ago on Laura Ingram's show. There's a lot of conversation on the online that Donald Trump has bent the knee. I think he's massaging the messaging. That being said, I don't know if massaging the messaging is the right thing to do with these radical leftist lunatics. They feel like they're winning. It's not a good recipe. It's just not. Tom Homan also had some things to say about the left-wing media using children to protest ICE. We have seen this over and over again. Kindergartners are protesting ICE. You got high school students walking out. I think Brentwood High School had a big walkout the other day, which was just insane. And then you got young kids. I saw babies at protests. I saw a 7-year-old get some pepper spray in her eye at a protest, and it's insane. But it's by design, okay? They want that for the emotional propaganda, the emotional optics of it. They love it. They love it. But Tom Homan, not exactly impressed when he sees kids out there on the protest line.
Why don't you show the funeral of Rachel Morin? Why don't you listen to the 19 minutes of Laken Riley fighting for her life? Not that she was, murdered, that for 19 minutes she fought for every breath, fought to survive. How terrified these young women were to be raped and murdered. How about that? How about we educate these children on President Trump's making this country safe again? How about we educate the children on the last administration? 500,000 children were smuggled in this country. They lost track of 300,000 of them, and President Trump found 145,000 of them. 145,000 children that the last administration wasn't even looking for. Why don't we talk about the 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl across that open border? Why don't we talk about the record number of known suspected terrorists across that border, or the historic increase in sex trafficking in women and children? Let's talk about that. President Trump's saving lives every day. The border is the most secure we have in the history of this nation. Less women are being raped. Less people are dying making that journey, and this country's safe again. Let's tell that story.
Amen. What you're hearing there from Tom Homan, righteous anger. 1021, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. Gun owners, listen up. If your safe can be pried open or tipped over or attacked with basic tools, you understand it's not a safe. It's just a flimsy metal box. They don't have those in stock at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. They have serious heavy-duty safes, including UL-rated, TL, and TR models designed to withstand real-world attacks like tools, torches, and time. These aren't just for firearms. They're ideal for anything that you might need to secure. Your precious metals, your jewelry, your passports, your family heirlooms, the photo albums, the stuff that you can't afford to lose and you can't replace. Aaron Parker knows security, Air Force security veteran, former park ranger. It's a Christian family-run business, and they want to handle everything for you. They serve Nashville, Middle Tennessee, and beyond. Give them a call today, 931-842-6445. You can also find them on YouTube. Search Parker Safes. They have a review for every safe in stock, and you can find those safes at parkersafes.com.
Up ahead, a new synthetic opioid surfaces in Tennessee, and police say that it's more powerful than fentanyl. That story's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Get the Narcan ready. It's just, everybody, there's always new stuff. Remember when Crocodile was a thing? Remember
Crocodile?
That? You don't remember Crocodile?
No.
It was like some kind of horse tranquilizer, I believe.
Ooh.
But it was like, I saw it in Kensington, over out there in Philly, Joan.
Yeah.
And it was like rotting the flesh off the bones of these people.
Oh, gosh.
It's
it
insane.
made their skin look like crocodile scales.
It's insane.
So sad.
It's gross. It's gross. Broken people do wild things, and we'll pray for them, and hopefully we talked to Bobby Kennedy earlier, the Great American Recovery Program. Hopefully that starts to help some of that. I do know that Pete Hegseth said that there is no boats coming from the South America area anymore. The cartels have been done operating that because of the risk that is there because of the U.S. government, which is awesome. But we'll keep our eyes on this. Looking forward to the headlines with Joan Jones on the way. I want to talk about fraud. We got a new anti-fraud task force incoming. J.D. Vance is at the helm. Very excited to see this. New York Post has the story. Vice President Vance and other high-ranking Trump administration officials will lead the task force aimed at tackling fraud in California and other states, according to a new report. This is actually really unbelievable because if it holds, you're looking at a presidential race in 2028 that potentially, at least if you're looking at the poly market betting odds, is going to be what, Vance versus Newsom? And now you have Vance leading an anti-fraud task force, and one of the first states they're going into is California. President Trump is going to sign an executive order in the coming days that names Vance as the chair of the task force, which will root out welfare abuse following high-profile scandals in cities like Minneapolis, sources told CBS News. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, Vance said during a recent briefing. It's happening in states like Ohio, like California. Andrew Ferguson, the current chairman of the Federal Trade Commission, will join Vance in overseeing the sweeping interagency effort to audit federal funds flowing into California's social service and childcare programs. And as part of the effort, the Associate Deputy Attorney General Colin McDonald will occupy the newly created role of fraud investigator. While he technically is going to be reporting to Pam Bondi, sources told CBS News that he's going to be working hand in hand with Vance and Ferguson. This move reportedly stems from the administration's frustration with staff in existing fraud units at the Department of Justice who may disagree with the Trump administration's priorities and tactics, the outlet reported. You mean they're holdovers from the Biden administration? Say that they're holdovers from the Biden administration without saying that they're holdovers from the Biden administration. Officials familiar with the planning say the task force will operate partly outside existing Department of Justice fraud enforcement units. While the task force will have nationwide scope, the spotlight is going to be on California after auditors flagged billions of fraud pandemic relief payments, unemployment insurance claims, and other benefits. The fraud is not going anywhere. Nick Shirley, death threats be damned, is on the ground in California, and he was talking about the fraud in California and how bad it is.
What's up, everybody? We're here in beautiful state of California. A lot of fraud's taking place here in the state of California, so that may be why I'm here. Lots of fraud. You got homelessness fraud, you got NGO fraud, voter fraud. You got some weird train that hasn't been built in a long time and billions of dollars have gone there. So there's plenty of fraud to be investigating here in the state of California.
Plenty of fraud. Whether we're looking at homelessness, NGO fraud, voter fraud, that train that never got built, the train to nowhere, and now we have an anti-fraud task force that's going to be chaired by J.D. Vance. The fraud is insane. David Hawk, he was testifying earlier this week in front of the House, and he told the U.S. Senate that the government must criminalize allowing fraud. And his statement, his whole testimony was just unbelievable.
My journey into uncovering fraud in Minnesota and ultimately throughout the entire United States, as it turns out, began when I started to notice very unusual changes in the Minneapolis area. Remember, I grew up there, so I know Minneapolis very well. Most notably, the enormous number of childcare facilities that had opened up. I would drive around the Twin Cities, and it seemed these childcare facilities were literally on every block. Some blocks had 2 or 3 childcare facilities on the same block. Minnesota sees a fair amount of snow in the winter, and I began to notice, driving by these childcare facilities, there were never any footprints in the snow outside these childcare facilities. And I'd go by them 3, 4, 5 times a day, Monday through Friday, because my office is in the heart of where a lot of these childcare facilities are. So I said, well, what's going on here with all these childcare facilities? So I began to check the Minnesota Secretary of State's website to find out just who owned all these childcare facilities. And guess what? Every single one of them was Somali owned.
I think it's important to point out, he didn't know that they were Somali owned, right? He had no idea they were Somali owned. It wasn't until after he realized there's no footprints in front of these childcare facilities that he began to investigate. I'll have more from David Hawk on how he went down that path on the way. Plus, we got a lot of news and movement. One congressional representative is filing legislation blocking all Somali migration to America for the next 25 years. All that and more on the way. 1031 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And Tennessee health officials are warning about a new synthetic opioid. It's been linked to 16 deaths in East Tennessee since October. Channel 4's Marius Payton.
It's called cyclorphine and has been found in 8 Tennessee counties. The deaths have accelerated since the first case was detected back in October.
And health officials say cyclorphine is 10% more potent than fentanyl. Rutherford County Schools approving a new signing incentive aimed at filling some of the district's hardest to staff teaching positions. Fox 17's Chris Knowles.
Middle and high school teachers in subjects like math, English, chemistry, physics, world languages, and special education would qualify for a $4,000 bonus. The money would be paid in two parts, $2,000 at the start of the school year and another $2,000 in the spring. Student teachers who complete their placement and sign on with the district would also be eligible for an additional $1,500.
School officials say this is not a long-term pay increase. It's meant to help attract new teachers. Happening this morning, the suspect in the 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, arrested overnight. He is now in U.S. custody. FBI Director Kash Patel.
Our Special Flight Operations Unit and countless others, along with the agents in the New York field office who never forgot Benghazi and never let the world forget it, endured over a decade to bring yet another terrorist who killed 4 Americans to justice.
That attack killed 4 Americans, including U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens, whose burned and beaten body was dragged through the streets in Benghazi after that attack. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 1037, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us all over the place. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. Super Talk TV is a bit off. We're working on it behind the scenes. Stay patient with us. We'll get the tech upgraded ASAP. Promise. Scout's honor.
Fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if you missed the interview with Bobby Kennedy, it's up on the podcast platforms right now, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all the things, right?
Yep.
We appreciate the HHS secretary joining us. There's a lot of news to get to, man. We were playing some of this testimony from David Hawk, who, as you know, was Nick Shirley's right-hand man in the Minnesota fraud. We started with his opening statements, and he said, guys, I didn't go into this thinking, what's up with all these Somalis running daycare centers? He started by saying, what's up with all these daycare centers? There's 2 or 3 on the same block. I keep driving by every day, and there's never any little footprints in the snow out front. That's weird. And it was when he started going down that rabbit hole and asking those questions that he began to realize it was the Somalis.
Not every child care facility in Minnesota was, but the ones that I was looking at that were by my office, and there were a lot of them. What's even stranger is that every one of these facilities is located in a commercial or industrial building, no play areas, bad neighborhoods, and several of the child care facilities had signage which stated they were open either 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., Quality Learning Centers, for example, or open 24 hours. Who the heck brings their kid to stay overnight at a child care facility in a rough neighborhood? None of it made any sense.
Would you? Would you use an overnight daycare center? No. No parent would ever use an overnight daycare center. Now, and listen, I do understand that there does need to be some early daycare centers. Like I get that. When I was doing mornings in Pittsburgh, it was really tough. My wife was working for a record company, so she would travel sometimes, and it's like, I got to go to work. It's like 3:00 in the morning. We made arrangements where we had a nanny coming in at that time, but that we liked and we trusted. She was awesome. But even at that, like 3 a.m. to bring your kid to a daycare center, that seems just absurd. You gonna leave him overnight? So he starts going down the rabbit hole. No snow, no footprints in the snow. All these ones with the no footprints happen to be Somali owned. Some of them are open 24 hours a day. It gets weirder and weirder and weirder.
The leering misspelling was the final straw for me. That's the spark that ignited my full-on investigation. So Minnesota has 2 different child care licenses available. One covers 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the other one covers 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They're 2 very different licenses. So for a child care facility to be open 24 hours a day or even from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., they need both licenses. How many of these facilities that are open these extended hours have 2 licenses?
Do you want to take a guess? Mason, you got a guess? How many have both licenses?
I'm saying
None
slim
of them.
pickings.
None of them. None of them.
So for a child care facility to be open 24 hours a day or even from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., they need both licenses. How many of these facilities that are open these extended hours have 2 licenses? None of them. 0. They all have only 1 license. Minnesota child care supervision requirements include the following. For infant care, that's 0 to 17 months of age, you have to have 1 adult supervising for every 4 children, and max 8 in a group. For toddlers, which is 18 and 23 months of age, it requires 1 adult for every 5 children to supervise, max 10 children in that group. For 2-year-olds, you need 1 adult for every 7 children, so max of 14 in a group. So if a child care facility was billing the state of Minnesota for 99 children, i.e. Quality Learning Center, that child care facility would need to have at least 8 employees supervising those children. These cannot be 1099 employees. They have to be W-2 employees. That means we're going to have at least 8 W-2s and we're going to have at least 8 I-9s.
This is where they get in big trouble, right? Because David isn't just saying this is not on the up and up. David is pulling receipts. And when you start pulling receipts and you start getting the proof, this is when people start sweating.
So if the feds went in and checked that, what do you think they're going to find? You already know the answer. One issue that is often brought up is that we are unfairly targeting the Somali community. This is a fair point to be made. As one Somali gentleman exclaimed in our second video, we're not the only community that does fraud. Fraud certainly exists in every community. It was the sheer volume and the blatant nature of the Somali fraud that demanded my attention. When one facility, Mako Childcare, has another childcare, mini childcare, registered at the same address, but the sign still says Mako Childcare, it kind of stands out. And again, no children, no footprints in the snow, ever. This is what I mean by being blatant. Misspelled signage, posted hours that require 2 licenses, no child footprints in the snow, not even once. So how did we arrive at this point? Why are we having this hearing? We got here because of politicians, almost exclusively Democrats. A couple of names come to mind. Jody Harpstead, the former commissioner of the Department of Human Services, and Shireen Gandhi, the current commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Human Services. Harpstead put the whole fraud on steroids. She was steering the ship from 2019 to 2025 during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is when the whole fraud network exploded into what we see nationally today and to what we see in my numbers, which are accurate.
And I think that we can look to COVID and say that a lot of fraud exploded during COVID. I mean, you're seeing Democrat lawmakers getting swept up in it now because of the FEMA funds that were fraudulently obtained. You're seeing it in California. You're seeing it in Minnesota. You're seeing, I mean, it's everywhere. And everybody knows it, right? Like we all knew the COVID funny money wasn't going where it needed to go. And everybody was putting their hands in that pot and grabbing as much as they could before they closed the lid. Fraud in the country exploded during COVID. And I think that you're going to see that same thread when you zoom out and that anti-fraud task force goes into California. And I think that you're going to see that if they look into Columbus, Ohio, or New York, or Maine. You're going to see the exact same thing over and over and over again. When did it really uptick? During COVID.
So now we hear that the Minnesota Department of Human Service is forging documents and backdating paperwork, all in an effort to cover up their complicity in this fraud. This is just more criminal behavior from the gang at the Minnesota Department of Human Services. It's criminal behavior. Minneapolis was the incubator for this nationwide fraud, which we're now seeing in Maine. We're seeing it in Washington State. We're seeing it in Columbus, Ohio. It was constructed here in Minneapolis. And the idea behind it was if you can get a population in here and fit them into this fraud framework, you have a guaranteed voting block for all eternity.
And that's what it's always been about, right? That's why they looked the other way. I don't necessarily think every Democrat was on the take or getting money or complicit in the fraud, but I do think the overwhelming majority of the Democrats in these states looked the other way because they knew which way these Somalis were voting, the newcomers, if you will, the newcomers. But David Hawk says Tim Walz and Minnesota Democrats were complicit. He was asked point blank by Senator Mike Lee, did Tim Walz, did he enable the Somali fraud in Minnesota?
Mr. Hope, in your view, did the Minnesota state government, either through incompetence or willful ignorance, reckless blindness or otherwise, did it enable the Somali fraud in Minnesota?
Yes.
How did it do that?
Complicity.
Complicity.
Complicity. Complicity with what degree of awareness as to the level of fraud that was being undertaken?
100%.
100%. So this was not a bug, was it? This was a feature.
100% awareness. They looked the other way. And we know that there was 100% awareness because we saw the whistleblowers coming out. And when the whistleblowers came out, they were threatened, told they would be labeled racist. You're going to be called a bigot. We're going to smear you. They were walked out of buildings. This story isn't going anywhere. But it's not going to be resolved, and we're not going to feel good about it until we see people in handcuffs. We need to see people in handcuffs, not just the Somalis, but the Democrats that look the other way. They need to be perp walked. Yeah, they're drawing down in Minnesota, but they haven't touched any of the fraud investigators. And I think that they need to put this investigation on steroids and do it as fast as humanly possible. Because until we get accountability, it's not going to stop. It's not. It's just going to change forms. It's just going to go into hiding. They're just going to wait until they can get away with it again. We need perp walks. We need handcuffs. I don't want to count chickens before they hatch. And, I understand the sentiment online. Nothing ever happens. And maybe that's the case. I hope it's not. But you see some of these senators that are just downright pissed. Senator Eric Schmidt is one of those.
People to get your way. And it's not 2020 anymore. The American people are over it. So what you're going to find is we are going to prosecute, and it has nothing to do with race. We're going to prosecute because fraud was committed on a level that is so offensive to this country. Your words that don't mean anything aren't going to stop what's coming. And I want you to take that back to George Soros and all these ridiculous funders you have to try to muddle the issue. Because justice is coming. And by the way, if I have it my way, we will denaturalize all these fraudsters and send them home.
That's the only correct answer. You got to be denaturalized. You got to be removed from the country. We can't import the third world and expect them not to bring third world stuff with them. We just can't. And they're destroying American cities. They're destroying communities. And they're stealing our money. The amount that we pay in taxes, like if you want it, if these protesters out there, they want a real issue to be upset about, you're being robbed on an industrial level by these programs, by this fraud. Where's the righteous anger? I know conservatives don't protest because we got jobs. But where is the people demanding accountability? Again, some reps are. Senator Eric Schmidt, he's pissed. He wants these fraudsters denaturalized. Rep Brandon Gill out of Texas, who I really do like quite a bit, he's proposing another idea to really drive it home that this can never happen again, especially with the Somali community.
Core part of American sovereignty is the ability to determine who's able to enter our country. And the sole purpose of our immigration system is to benefit American citizens. That's why today I introduced a bill that would implement a Somalia immigration moratorium. Mr. Speaker, we've seen the multi-billion-dollar Somalia fraud scandal just in the past week, and Americans are furious. And the reality is that Somalian immigration makes America less prosperous, less safe, and less culturally cohesive.
And because of that, he has introduced legislation to impose a 25-year immigration moratorium on Somalia. He said on X, we've seen the Somali fraud. Americans need to come first. We need more guys like this. We need more senators like Eric Schmidt. We need more fighters up there in D.C. I want an immigration moratorium for everybody, full disclosure. I think we could use a good 5 to 10 years on holding off on immigration until we get everything settled. Not just the fraud, but the 20 million plus illegal aliens that are here already. If it was up to me, I would expand that 25-year moratorium on Somalia to everyone, actually. Everyone. Sweden can get it too. Like, just for the record. Until we fix the problems that we have here at home, to allow anybody else in, insanity. It's 10:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Metro Police investigating someone firing shots at a detective last night. That and more coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You know what your headline reminded me of?
What's that, Brother Chris?
This morning, so this is every morning my wife and I we try to sneak down before the kids are up.
Yeah.
And we sit down, we have a cup of coffee, and we watch local news. And this morning, my wife said something to me, which I thought was an indictment on this city.
Yeah.
She said, the news in Nashville right now feels a lot closer to what we were seeing when we lived in Detroit, where every headline was shooting after shooting after shooting.
Oh yeah, there's at least one every day.
It never ends. It just keeps going. Now I know we're not as bad as Detroit, and I know that she knows that as well. But when we first moved to, so we went from Detroit to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things we said was we were like, wow. They've been covering the same murder for a week. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, there hasn't been 3 in a night. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then we got to Nashville. We're like, wow, we just watched the whole newscast and there wasn't a shooting.
Right.
Like, that's crazy. But it seems like, we got here in 2017?
Yeah.
It seems like since then, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. I don't know if it's worse, but from my perspective, it's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah, there is at least one shooting a day, it seems. Coming from little Boise, Idaho, there may be a shooting there like maybe every other month.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, dude, that was big news in Boise, Idaho when there was a shooting.
Oh, I can imagine.
Woo! That local news, they spent about 3 to 5 minutes on it. Team coverage. That sort of thing here. Sometimes I don't even report them.
Do you think it's a case of police having the handcuffs put on them and soft policing?
I just think there's more people. There's more people.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, there's more people, and there are people out there who they don't care.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a crazy world out there. Ken Weaver on the way in less than 2 minutes with your headlines. We're going to talk about immigration and enforcement on the way. Did you hear the news? Border wall construction is currently being fast-tracked.
Homeland Security is using a rarely challenged federal authority to fast-track new border construction in Arizona and other border states. In a series of 4 determinations published late last year, DHS waived dozens of federal laws, including environmental and land use protections, to speed up the building of border barriers and access roads in areas officials call high illegal entry zones. Here's what those waivers mean, where they apply, and why they're drawing attention. These actions are based on Section 102 of the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. It's a law that gives the Secretary of Homeland Security broad authority to build border infrastructure. Under Section 102C, the Secretary can waive federal laws and regulations if they're believed to have slowed down construction of barriers, roads, lighting, or surveillance equipment along the border. Issued over a 3-month period, together the waivers cover multiple Border Patrol sectors in Arizona and our neighboring states. All along our southern border, there are number monuments that mark the demarcation line. These recent filings show expanded construction from marker 195 to 163 in this area, in addition to markers 141 to marker 70.
I love to see it. The other thing you're seeing on the border wall is they have taken that, it was like an ugly brown metal. They've started painting it black. So that way it's too hot to climb. Make it as hard as humanly possible to sneak into this country. That's what we need to do. And the Trump administration is working on it. It's 11 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Metro Police looking for the suspect who opened fire on an undercover detective in South Nashville overnight. Officers say the detective was driving near the Walmart on Harding Place when another vehicle pulled up and fired 3 shots. She wasn't hurt. The shooter sped away. The suspected vehicle, described by Metro Police as a light-colored sedan, last seen headed toward I-24. Nashville families have launched a petition demanding NES pay for ice storm damages. It's on change.org for all customers who went longer than 48 hours without power. Channel 4's Brandon Tierney.
Went bad.
Scott Coy says his entire refrigerator had to be cleaned out and restocked after 7 days without power in Sylvan Park. That's on top of needing a plumber to restart their pipes.
Very close to about $1,000 just to get this place operational again.
These added costs from the winter storm come after spending thousands of dollars for his family of 5 to stay in a hotel.
You know, the dollar signs were kind of flying around in my head as I thought, okay, this is not going to be a cheap week. Let's try to minimize it. That was, another level of stress on top of what we were managing with work and with the children being out of school.
To help families recover, a group has started this petition demanding NES give them bill credits or some other type of reimbursement.
Now, Channel 4 says NES hasn't said whether it will consider this proposal, only that restoring service remains the top priority. And right now, they've got 1,183 customers still without power. Tennessee lawmakers considering a pilot program that would put free feminine hygiene vending machines in public schools. The proposal would require the Department of Health to install the machines in women's restrooms or locker rooms. 2 schools from each region of the state would be selected with priority given to campuses serving the highest number of economically disadvantaged students. The bill has cleared the Senate Education Committee but was taken off notice in a House subcommittee last month. Tennessee's released its 2025 immigration crime report showing more than 11,000 cases statewide involving people law enforcement believes are not legally in the U.S. Davidson County recorded the highest number of cases, while Robertson County had the highest per capita rate. About 80% of all reported offenses were nonviolent, mostly traffic violations, driving without a license or DUI. Violent crimes made up just over 10%, including 41 homicides and more than 450 aggravated assaults. And with Super Bowl Sunday just 2 days away, millions of Americans getting the final items off their shopping lists and spending more money this year, says Chuck Severson.
Expecting Americans to spend 40 to 45% more online this year for things like snacks, soft drinks, and sweets for the big game. Vivek Pandya, lead insights analyst for the e-commerce tracking site Adobe Analytics.
Chicken wings, they'll be up 179%. Chips and dips, soft drinks, condiments, and blue cheese dressing specifically will be up quite a bit. So you're going to see an overall uptick of about 25% in terms of an increase for grocery spending.
Up to 65% increases of sales of large screen TVs.
Ooh, got to have that blue cheese. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You're welcome to join the show any way you'd like. 615-737-9986. That's the number to call in. That's the number to text in. You can jump over to the YouTube chat. That's still working fine. The audio on that's a bit chippy. We're working on fixing the technical difficulties over on the Super Talk TV side of things, and we're hoping that it's resolved very, very quickly. We'll keep you guys updated on that. In the meantime, you can still listen to us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, the FM dial. Podcasts are still available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the places where you get your podcasts. If you missed my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that has been podcasted. Mason got it up. Hit the like button on that. Share with your friends. We talk a lot about how growing the digital footprint of the radio station will get us bigger interviews, and that's an example of that.
Absolutely.
And it's not just for me. Like, even if you don't like my show, I don't mind. Like, I understand. I might not be for everyone. There's people out there that I don't like, but I can acknowledge that they're great broadcasters and talented. Ben Shapiro comes to mind. Like, his style's not my cup of tea, but like I don't dislike him. You know what I mean?
He's good at what he does.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, he's got a skill base that like works for him.
100%. But so when you hit like and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, it just to round out the point, it doesn't just help me. It helps Mandis and Murphy and Benson. It helps the entire station. And then we can keep getting these bigger interviews. Having that big digital footprint really does help land some of those bigger names. So if you haven't done it yet, I know today's probably not the day to ask you to do it since the YouTube channel's on the fritz. But please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do, and it helps us tremendously. It helps us get bigger names to bring you bigger interviews and more information, and then hold those bigger names accountable. Not that I necessarily had to hold RFK accountable, but you know what I'm saying. Please continue doing that and share the show with your friends. We appreciate it. We're talking about immigration and enforcement. And I played that clip where they're ramping up construction on the border wall, and I got a text, and somebody said, I thought the border was secure. So, yes, crossings are at record lows, but the border wall isn't for right now. The border wall is for the future. You get that? Like, we have an opportunity right now to continue fortifying the southern border. And the Trump administration is taking that opportunity, as they should. Because what happened the last time they fortified the border wall? They were in the process of doing it. They had the supplies to do it. And then Biden got in office and shut it all down and sold the materials that we had to continue the border wall for pennies on the dollar. Insanity. So yes, continuing the border wall is a massive priority. And the Trump administration is not forgetting about that. And I thank them for it. In the meantime, we got more activist judges doing activist judges things. Activist Judge Indira Talwani has blocked the Trump administration from using taxpayer info to find illegal aliens for deportation. Yep. She wrote in an order, the implementation and or enforcement of IRS-ICE MOU, the ICE-IRS implementing agreement, as well as related agreements, policies, practices, and procedures, together the information sharing agreements, are stayed and preliminary vacated pursuant to Administrative Procedure Act 5, U.S.C. Section 705, pending disposition of this litigation on the merits. Defendant, DHS Secretary Noem, ICE Acting Director Lyons, and their agents are enjoined from inspecting, viewing, using, copying, distributing, relying on, or otherwise acting upon any return information that had been obtained from or disclosed by IRS defendants pursuant to the information sharing arrangements, including the information received August 7, 2025. The ICE defendants shall provide a copy of this order to the individual whose government-issued computer holds the information received from the IRS on August 7, 2026, and shall file confirmation that a copy of this order has been provided to the individual no later than February 10th, 2026. That individual, a DHS agent, is bound by this order. It is so ordered. That's how it closes. They always close like that? Or she did all caps? I pictured she was like angrily typing.
Just hammering the keyboard.
It is ordered. It's just... Why can't these agencies share information? What's the issue with that? Oh, you are putting illegal aliens above American citizens. Got it. Activist judges doing activist things. This is another example of the judicial coup that we have seen against the Trump administration since he took office January 20th, 2025. And they're going to continue doing things like this to slow down, impede, and obstruct. These judges are trash. We need to Nayib Bukele our courts. Everybody knows it. It's probably never going to happen, but that's where we're at. In the meantime, Caroline Leavitt is out there just scolding Democrats because we have another story of another illegal alien trucker, this time killing 4 Americans.
This is another abhorrent example of the border crisis over the past 4 years, and it again exemplifies why the administration must continue and will always continue to fully back and support ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in their removal of illegal alien criminals from our country. For those who don't know, and all of you should report on it, 4 Americans were tragically killed and lost their lives this week yet again from an illegal alien, an individual who was paroled into the country by the Biden administration using the CBP One app, which they created like it was a magic pass for Disneyland. That's not how immigration in this country should work. And this illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan was traveling on an Indiana highway, and he failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. He swerved into the lane and he crashed into a van carrying 15 passengers, and 4 people were killed in that crash. This is another tragedy that could have been prevented if not for the wide open borders from the previous administration. That's why we now have a secure border. That's why this administration will continue to deport illegal aliens from our country.
Amen. We need to. And we need to fix this trucking issue. It's not going anywhere. And I know that we got a large trucking audience, and I'm sure you guys are out there on the roads every single day continuing to see illegal aliens out there driving these big rigs, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. How are they getting the IDs in the first place? Well, this individual got it from Pennsylvania. It was February 5th. ICE arrested an illegal alien semi-truck, February 5th is the date on the article. And ICE arrested an illegal alien semi-truck driver, issued a commercial driver's license by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He killed 4 innocent people on February 3rd when he swerved into oncoming traffic, struck a van in a head-on collision. Beksen Bishkiev, 30-year-old national of Kyrgyzstan, illegally came to the United States using the Biden's disastrous CBP One app, was released into the United States. Even worse, Pennsylvania, under Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro's leadership, issued him a commercial driver's license. It was February 3rd, 4 p.m. He was traveling eastbound on Indiana State Route 67 when he allegedly failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. Police say he swerved into the westbound lane, slammed into a van carrying up to 15 passengers. 4 people were killed in the crash. The fatal crash is being investigated by the Indiana State Police, the Jay County Sheriff's Department, and the Jay County Coroner's Office. ICE issued an immigration detainer against Bishkiev with the Jay County Jail on February 4th. And because the state of Indiana cooperates with ICE, they were able to take him into custody. Had he been arrested in a state like Minnesota, California, New York, he might be walking the streets today. Insane. We need more cooperation with ICE, not less. Not less. But they'll say that the people are against ICE. They're ginning up all this controversy. You know, you see the protesters, you see it in Minneapolis, and in Minneapolis it's used to distract from the fraud. But it's important to point out, none of this is organic. It's just not, and everybody knows it. There were protesters showing up in Boston, and this woman who is a Trump fan and clearly from Boston when you hear her voice, she was recording and she was acting like she's a leftist, and she's asking all the protesters who are getting off the Peter Pan where they're from.
Okay, people, here's the proof they're busting them in. You see? See the bus?
San Francisco, local 39.
San Francisco?
New Jersey district.
Jersey! Wow, awesome. Nice, nice. They got hats over there for free, for sale, and signs for free.
You're from Jersey. You're from Washington State. You're from San Francisco. Nice, nice. Hey, all the signs that you need are over there.
See? They're busting them in from all over, dude.
I love the Boston accent. They're busting them in from all over, dude. Guy, I've been telling you. They're busting them in. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. It's just even... And Massachusetts is supposed to be like a very, very blue state. They can't even organically get protesters there. They have to bust them in. They're busting them in, dude. They're busting them in. I told you. I knew it. I knew it the whole time.
See? They're busting him in from all over, dude. I told you guys, nobody wants to believe me. Nobody wants to believe me.
She got it on video. Hard to argue with that. Nobody wants to believe me, guy. But they're busting him in, I'm telling you. And they're doing it everywhere. All of these protests that you're seeing, every single one, it guaranteed there have been protesters bust in. That's not to say that there aren't some radical leftist lunatics from those areas that aren't involved in the protests, but they're not as organically big as they want you to think. These are paid professional agitators. And before you say, how do you know they're paid? Let me ask you, you hopping on a bus from Jersey to go to Boston to protest if you're not getting paid? Of course not. Of course not. And it just keeps going and going. Did you see what happened in a Delaware church? Church in Delaware. This video has been going viral. I say church very, very loosely. For starters, it's a female preacher. Not off to a good start. Secondly, they're not exactly singing hymns in this Delaware church. They got different songs. And just for the record, this is not AI.
Our neighbors in Afghana, de-ice our neighborhoods. Invite our neighbors in Afghana, de-ice our neighborhood. Invite our neighbors in, we're gonna heal this world with love. Tear down the fences.
Jesus. What in the world is going on in this country? We used to be a proper country. This was at a church in Delaware. I say church very loosely, probably Methodist, and it was one of their songs during an Alex Preddy memorial service. Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. I know you are too. Let's hear that jam one more time.
Our neighbors in Afghana, de-ice our neighborhoods. Invite our neighbors in.
It's a bummer that the video isn't working on YouTube because I'm dancing.
Neighborhood. Invite our neighbors in. We're gonna heal this world with.
To be fair, I didn't need to hear the song to know that she was just a radical leftist.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I'm gonna.
You didn't like that? You're gonna hit the dump button. But you could tell. You're reclaiming your time.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Okay. She didn't need to sing.
No,
she didn't. We could tell she was a leftist from the glasses. They wear a particular type of glasses.
You know.
They look like the Drew Carey glasses.
Yeah. Yep.
If a woman is wearing Drew Carey glasses, that, my friend, is a leftist. I'm telling you, 99 out of 100 times.
After he got LASIK, they had to go somewhere. Leftist women went, yep, those are mine.
Yep, we're taking those. And then yesterday in Minnesota, Jake Lang, who is he's an online influencer. He's a bit of an agitator, former J6 guy. So they have this ice block statue at the Minnesota Capitol, and it says it's like carved out of ice. And it says prosecute ICE, okay? Jake Lang got arrested yesterday because he went down to the Minnesota Capitol and he kicked over the letters so that way the only ones that remained were pro-ICE.
President Trump, we support you. We support ICE. Our country was made for Americans, not for Somalis.
And then he just starts kicking him over.
Baby, America first, America only.
It's just, I don't think destruction of public property is funny. Not all the time. That was funny. They're charging him. They arrested him. They're charging him with destruction of public property and private property, and I don't know.
Is that an ordered sculpture?
Somebody ordered it. Somebody paid for that.
Oh, I thought it was made out of like the snow that came through.
No, like somebody brought in ice blocks and they carved it to say prosecute ICE.
That's so funny.
And he said, nope, it's going to say pro ICE.
Nope.
I don't know how much trouble you can get in for kicking over an ice sculpture.
I don't know, but because it's not going to last.
It would have melted. It would have melted within.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's Minnesota, so like within the next 6 months or so, it would have melted.
Yeah. By the end, it would have just been like the top of the letters.
Yep. He wrecks the block of ice. He gets arrested. However, protesters, throwing rocks and bricks and frozen water bottles at ICE agents, that is mostly peaceful.
Smashing vehicles.
No arrests. There's 2 tiers of justice in these blue states. Make no mistake about it. It's 11:22. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.